What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel. And this is the first album review I have done in a couple of months, ever since the Ghost album came out back in June. And I just had been forgetting to talk about other albums that I was looking forward to coming out, especially last month, because there were two big albums I wanted to check out, and I just completely forgot to: Immortal and Obscura. I might get to those sometime soon, though. But I am here to talk about probably the biggest album next to Judas Priest and At the Gates that came out this year, and it just came out this past Friday, and that is the new Alice in Chains album, Rainier Fog, which came out just a couple of days ago. And so a little quick bio for everybody who is not familiar with Alice in Chains. If you aren't, why are you here? Second off, Alice in Chains started back in 1987 out of Seattle, Washington. Started out as more of a straight-up glam metal band before evolving out of that into more of a standard heavy metal sound. While a lot of people consider them one of the forerunners of the grunge movement in the early 90s, in my personal opinion, they were way too heavy, way too doomy to be considered a grunge band. Plus, no real punk influence really in their music. It's all basically, to me, Alice in Chains, if I can compare them to another band, to me they're like the Seattle version of Black Sabbath. They're so doomy, so blues-oriented, very dark, brooding lyrics, and amazing guitar riffs from Jerry Cantrell. Plus, back when they started making records, starting with Facelift in 1990, and especially Dirt in 92, that's when they really laid the groundwork for bands to take what they did, but add in some more punk flavoring in order to create the sludge metal genre. Even though sludge metal was kind of already in play with another fellow Seattle band in the Melvins, after the first two Alice in Chains records, you heard bands come out of New Orleans, bands such as Crowbar and I Hate God, who wanted to take their sound, but make it a little more aggressive and a little more punky, and basically help to create modern sludge metal. But, aside from that, then they came out in 95 with the Tripod album, their self-titled album, where things got very, very dark. Plus, that was the final full-length record featuring legendary original vocalist Lane Staley, who unfortunately passed away in 2002. That led to a disbandment of Alice in Chains for a long time, until around the mid to late 2000s, when the remaining members of the time, Jerry Cantrell on guitar and co-lead vocals, Mike Inez on bass, and Sean Kinney on drums, got together for reunion shows in like 2006 or something like that, and jammed with a bunch of different singers, people from like Maynard James Keenan from Tool, James Hetfield of Metallica, and so on and so forth, to play songs at festivals, until they eventually got new singer William Duvall, who's basically similar to Lane Staley. However, Lane's still a better singer than William, in my opinion. But William does a great job, plus he plays rhythm guitar, so you get a double guitar sound in Alice in Chains, starting with their comeback album, Black Gives Way to Blue, in 2009, which I love that album. Then 4 years later, they put out The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, which is arguably their darkest album next to Dirt. And now, 5 years later, we get their next phase in the William Duvall era with Rainier Fog. So, was it as good as hyped? I would say yes, but barely, though. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say that this may be the worst Alice in Chains album, but it is still a great album. Like, they have not made a bad album. This is not a bad album. It is the weakest of their discography, in my opinion, but it's still a phenomenal record to listen to. You start to hear a little more punk flavor coming into the band a little bit, particularly in the second track, the self-titled song, or the title track, Rainier Fog. You hear a little bit of a punk flavor come in, even though it's still very, very metal and very Black Sabbath oriented. And of course, the other singles from this album that came out in the months prior Songs like So Far Under and The One You Know, still very doomy, very metal. But then you get the typical affair from Alice in Chains, where you get a couple of acoustic songs. Songs like Fly and Maybe are two of the primary acoustic songs, which kind of harkens you back to some songs from the recent years, from, say, the song Your Decision from Black Gives Way to Blue, and Voices off of The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. It kind of harkens back to those songs a little bit, but also can harken you back to the Jar of Flies days back in '94 when they did that acoustic EP. But then the closing song, All I Am, is basically combining the heaviness of the majority of the album with the acoustic atmosphere, combine them together to an over 7-minute song. I thought it was an epic closer to conclude a really good album in Rainier Fog. But if you were to ask me what my favorite song of the album is, it's still The One You Know, the first single, because it's still so good. The riff is catchy, the lyrics are very verbose, and also it's a great sing-along tune. Like I said in a live stream last night, whenever I'm at work and I'm picking up driving range balls at the golf course, I like to sing that song because it's just such a good sing-along tune. But yeah, the overall vibe of the album, it flows together nicely. It's dark, it's atmospheric, it's still very heavy, but very melodic at the same time. So, if you're a huge fan of Alice in Chains like I am, this is definitely right up your alley. However, like I said, I still do think this is maybe the worst Alice in Chains album, but it's still a great album. No doubt about it. I don't think Alice in Chains is capable of making a god-awful album. They're just such great musicians, great songwriters. You can't go wrong with Alice in Chains. So overall, I give this album an 86 out of 100. I highly recommend it for everyone watching this. It's a great album, despite what I just said, maybe their worst album, but even though it's their worst album, it's still a great album. It's tough to rank their records because they're just so diverse and dark and heavy. So, thank you all so much for watching this review of Alice in Chains' Rainier Fog. For those of you who are watching and have listened to the album, what did you guys think of Rainier Fog? Let me know in the comments below. But until next time, actually real quick before I go, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tonight, I will be going live once again for another music / hangout / gaming stream. Hang out with you guys, maybe on Discord, whatever. But anyways, thank you for watching. Peace out, and I will see you later tonight.